What is great enlightening beings' boundless dedication equal to the cosmos? Here they wrap their heads with the turban of non-defilement, dwell in the position of a teacher of truth, and extensively carry out the giving of teaching with great kindness and compassion, establishing sentient beings in the aspiration for enlightenment. Always practicing charity, by the determination for enlightenment, they nurture roots of goodness. Being directors for sentient beings, they point out to them the path of universal knowledge. Being sons of truth for sentient beings, the light of their roots of goodness illumines all. Their minds are impartial toward all sentient beings. They practice good works without rest. Their hearts are pure, free from stain, and their knowledge and wisdom are free. They never give up good works, and, acting as wise caravan leaders for sentient beings, they bring them all into the right path of peace. Being leaders and guides for sentient beings, they have them cultivate the practices of all roots of goodness. Being incorruptible, steadfast, good friends to sentient beings, they cause their roots of goodness to develop and mature. These great enlightening beings make giving of teaching principle. Developing all pure, good qualities, they embody the mind directed toward universal knowledge, their supreme willpower ultimately enduring, developing, and growing. They are endowed with great powers and virtues. They trust good spiritual friends. Their minds have no deceitfulness. They contemplate and examine the boundless realms of the way into universal knowledge. These roots of goodness they dedicate in this way as follows. They vow to become able to cultivate, perfect, and increase all perspectives of universal non-obstruction. They vow to become able to absorb, retain, and expound whatever they hear of the true teaching of the Buddhas, even a single line or verse. They vow to become able to recollect all the Buddhas, past, future, and present, of all worlds, innumerable, boundless, equal to the cosmos, and, having remembered them, to cultivate enlightening practices. They also vow to cultivate enlightening practice for one being in one world, forever by this root of goodness of remembrance of Buddhas, and as in one world, so in all worlds, throughout the space of the cosmos, and as for one being, as for all sentient beings, in each case being eternally adorned with great vows for their sake, eradicating any thought of separation from the Buddhas and spiritual friends. Always seeing the Buddhas before them, able to draw near to every Buddha that appears in the world. The pure religious practices extolled and expounded by all Buddhas and enlightening beings, they vow to cultivate and completely fulfill. Religious practices of unbroken morality, flawless morality, unalloyed morality, spotless morality, impeccable morality. Religious practice that cannot be shrouded, religious practice lauded by Buddhas, religious practice of non-reliance, religious practice of non-acquisitiveness, religious practice of increasing the purity of enlightening beings, religious practice as carried out by the Buddhas of all times, religious practice of non-obstruction, religious practice of non-attachment, religious practice of non-contention, religious practice without extinction, religious practice of stabilization of goodwill, religious practice of incomparable compassion, religious practice of immutable joy, religious practice of undisturbed equanimity, religious practice of freedom from anger. If great enlightening beings are able to cultivate such pure religious practices for their own sake, they will be able to do so for the sake of all sentient beings, enabling all sentient beings to attain stability, enabling all sentient beings to attain open understanding, enabling all sentient beings to attain completion, enabling all sentient beings to attain purity, enabling all sentient beings to attain non-defilement, enabling all sentient beings to attain illumination, enabling all sentient beings to be unstained by sense objects, enabling all sentient beings to be free from blinding hindrances, enabling all sentient beings to be freed from inflaming afflictions, enabling all sentient beings to be freed from all bonds, enabling sentient beings to forever depart from all evils, enable all sentient beings to be harmless and ultimately pure. Why? If great enlightening beings cannot themselves be pure in religious practice, they cannot cause others to attain purity. If they themselves regress from religious practice, they cannot cause others not to regress. If they themselves are corrupt in religious practice, they cannot cause others to be free from corruption. If they themselves stray from religious practice, they cannot cause others not to stray. If they themselves are lazy in religious practice, they cannot cause others not to slack off. If they themselves have no faith in religious practice, they cannot cause others to have faith. If they themselves do not live steadily by religious practice, they cannot cause others to live steadily. If they themselves have no realization of religious practice, they cannot cause others' minds to attain realization. If they themselves give up religious practices, they cannot cause others to persevere. If they themselves waver in religious practice, they cannot cause others not to waver. Great enlightening beings act without delusion and teach doctrine that is free from delusion. What they say is drothful, and they practice what they preach. They purify their deeds, words, and thoughts, eliminating all dross and defilements. They abide in unobstructed action and annihilate all hindrances. Great enlightening beings themselves attain pure minds and explain to others ways to purify the mind. They themselves cultivate harmony and tolerance, taming their minds with roots of goodness, and cause others to be harmonious and tolerant, taming their minds with roots of goodness. They themselves get rid of doubt and regret, and also cause others to be forever rid of doubt and regret. They themselves attain pure faith, and also cause others to attain indestructible, pure faith. They themselves abide in the truth, and also cause others to live by the truth. Great enlightening beings also dedicate the roots of goodness arising from giving of teaching in this way, quote, "May I attain the infinite means of teaching of all Buddhas, and analyze and explain them for all sentient beings, causing them all to rejoice and be satisfied in mind, shattering all false philosophies. May I be able to expound the ocean of teachings of the Buddhas of past, present, and future for all sentient beings, in terms of the upshot of each teaching, the meanings and principles of each teaching, the interpretation of each teaching, the revelation of each teaching, the ways of access to each teaching, the awakening to each teaching, the contemplation and investigation of each teaching, and the field and position of each teaching. Attain infinite treasuries of truths, acquiring fearlessness, endowed with all powers of analysis and elucidation, extensively analyzing and explaining for sentient beings throughout the future inexhaustibly." Close quote. Because they want to enable sentient beings to establish transcendent will and develop unhindered impeccable discernment, because they want to cause all sentient beings to be joyful, because they want to enable all sentient beings to develop the light of all pure principles, unceasingly expounding them in expressions adapted to the type of audience, because they want to cause all sentient beings to be profoundly faithful and joyful, they abide in universal knowledge, discern and comprehend all things, and cause them to be without confusion, thinking in these terms, quote, "I should earnestly cultivate practice in all worlds for the sake of sentient beings, attain an infinite free body pervading the cosmos, attain an infinite great mind pervading the cosmos, Become endowed with infinite pure speech, equal to the realms of the cosmos. Appear in sights of enlightenment of infinite congregations throughout the extent of the cosmos. Cultivate enlightening practices as infinite as the cosmos. Attain stations of enlightening beings as infinite as the cosmos. Realize equanimity of enlightening beings as infinite as the cosmos. Learn principles of enlightening beings as infinite as the cosmos, and enter into the dedications of enlightening beings as infinite as the cosmos. Close quote. This is great enlightening beings' dedication of roots of goodness, to cause all sentient beings to be able to attain universal knowledge.